Okay, 8:30. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Read Cohort. Um, Hope everyone's doing well. Everybody's enjoying the new year, and everybody had good holidays. So we're gonna jump into today. We're gonna jump into positions, the status of the positions for resource advisors, and we have a whole hour to talk about them and to talk about what um, has been accepted, where they are, information and questions and comments about them. And as part of that, um, uh, we got Jess Rosenberg, who's the current chair of the Resource Advisors Subcommittee at NWCG. I was the chair when all of this was being developed, but Jess is the one that's going to take it over the finish line.
Fingers crossed. I'm trying. So it's all thanks to everyone's hard work. So you really set us up for success.
So I'll be part of this conversation too, since I helped write a lot of this. But there's other people from the subcommittee here to talk about it too. So I know Cedar's on.
Yep, and I was just going to do a quick run through of who all the committee members are so people kind of know. And then at the end of that, I'll give the link to the subcommittee page so people can go to that as well. So like Lynn said, I'm Jess Riesenberg. I'm the BLM primary member as well as the current chair. And then the other associate members are Kevin Keeler, Justin Proffer, and Hannah Robinson from the BLM. And then our vice chair is the BIA currently, which if Jen's on, if she wants to introduce herself, I'll give her a couple seconds maybe. Okay, I don't think she's on. But yeah, Jennifer Hickman is the BIA representative, and anyone that's with the BIA, if you want to give me or her a shout out, we're also looking for associate members for them because currently she doesn't have any. And then Fish and Wildlife, your primary member is Brian Van Druten, and you have an associate member of Tim Kramer. And then Forest Service, if Dave is on. Nope. So Dave Calgary, which your associate members are Marissa Anderson, Rebecca Lloyd, Courtney Rowe, and Alexandria Rosen. And then Cedar, since I know you're on, I'll let you take it away for your people.
Sure. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Cedar Drake, I'm the primary member for the National Park Service on the NWCG Read Subcommittee. Our associate members are Jennifer Gibson, Peter Knightlick, Jason Nez, and Diane Avendroth. We have Lynn Gasaway employed as an advisor through the Park Service. And then we also have Heidi Ogle, who serves as a liaison to the NWCG Geospatial Subcommittee.
And Thanks, then, Jeff. Yeah. And then we also have the National Association of State Foresters. Currently, that position is vacant for a primary member. So if anyone on this call is a part of that society, we are more than open to having you as one of our members if you're interested in that and have your supervisor's approval. So again, please shoot me a message. And then we also have Dave Schultz as our NWCG coordinator. And I believe he was going to try and make this call for at least the first part of it. So you may be hearing from him as well. Oh, Lynn put in the link for the overview of the subcommittee. Thank you, Lynn.
No problem.
So yeah, as Lynn mentioned, we have been working very diligently on the 4 positions. Currently, they were not published in the January's edition, but we're really hopeful that they'll make the June errata if they do make an errata. Otherwise, you will most likely see them in the 2025 edition for the official 310-1. So currently they're still in the supplement, so nothing has changed yet for you guys. But hopefully in June, they'll be more formalized and finalized. And then I'll just post the link to the position catalog and the supplements too for this year.
I got him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, for the supplements and the.
Yep.
So I put in the new positions, the folder for the new positions, and here I'll put the overall one that has all of this is on the Read Cohort Google Drive. There we go.
Thank you. And so what I thought we would do is just go through all 4 positions first, and then we'll talk about the transition plan. And then we're also going to go through the IPTM process, which is the incident performance and training modernization that all NWCG positions are going through. And we were lucky enough to snag a spot this year to have all of our positions go through that. And we'll have a request for SMEs too for that. So if anyone's interested in assisting with that, please, please, please fill out the form. So yeah, we'll start off by going through the archaeology position.
Do you want to go through the transition plan first, or you want to?
It doesn't matter to me. Either or is fine.
Okay. I'm gonna share. At least
Okay.
share the screen so we can start sharing the documents. I can remember how to do this. Okay. Make it bigger, not smaller. All right. I'll just fill this in. So we did do the this justification for change was the way that this all started like 5 years ago. And this document's in there. It just shows how much resource advisors were and are being used, and the need for the positions to be formalized and consistent. Just showing the number of requests that came out through the years, and then why we were asking for this. And really consistency and training was what was being looked at, and why we wanted to have the new positions.
And that's something too, a lot of AAs I've chatted with have mentioned that they would really like it to be consistent across the board. So that then if they do just a blanket request for a reef or read or arc, they know that their training is going to be similar, and it's not just going to be a person who had maybe a day-long N9042 class versus someone who had a week-long one.
And then this one is the transition plan. So just so everybody, when all the stuff that's going to be talked about with the positions is not that when it gets published, it's not a like automatically that day everybody changes. This transition plan allows everybody that has the positions on their red cards to keep those positions. And then if you were a trainee, it allows you time to come back and catch up. But if somebody's brand new into resource advising, then it is like, okay, now you have to do these qualifications. So one of the biggest parts about this, there's a table somewhere that shows the differences between the positions. But while I look for that, I can bring up the ARC.
Yeah, and the ARC is the one that has changed the most because we are no longer allowing escorted visits to the fire line as an ARC. So ARC is now going to be a fire line qualified position. You will not need an escort for it. And if you still want to work as an archaeologist, but you don't want to go onto the fire line, then Reed will be the position that you're going to want to have on your red card, because you can still help out as an archaeologist, as a Reed, if office work is kind of more your forte and where you want to assist your unit or even nationally on. So the main difference for ARC to stay qualified is you must have taken ICS 100, ICS 200, L180, S130, and S190, which this is basically your guard school classes. So most of the fire seasonals that come on that are new, these are all the classes that they're going to be taking as well. So if that's something you need, you can talk to your fire shop and see if you can't sit in on those classes when they run them for their seasonals. Otherwise, a lot of these too are offered online, with the exception of you need to have a field day for one of them. And again, you can just talk to your fire shop too, and they can set up a field day with you. And I'll put all of these classes too in the chat, because I know I kind of went through them a little quickly.
Well, some of the classes didn't change all that much. What's showing on your screen? Because I can't see
On
this.
the transition plan, the very
Okay.
top of it. And then the other new addition for ARC will also be to take the M281 course, which is the Fireline course, which that currently, we have not talked about the PAC test requirements yet. So M281, that'll be the Fireline archaeology class. We're still working with NWCG to get that to be an official class. Oh, and Lynn says she's frozen. Always a fun time on these calls, huh? But yeah, so M281 is the unofficial fire archaeology class that will also be a new requirement, but those people that have ARC on their red card now, and they have currently been acting as an archaeologist on the fire line, you will not have to worry about taking the M281 course. And then for archaeology as well, you will also need, for the work capacity test, it'll be moderate. It will not be arduous. So those are kind of the main changes to the ARC qualifications. And then for people that are concerned about paraprofessional archaeologists, would they be considered ARC qualified? No, they will not be considered ARC qualified if they're a paraprofessional archaeologist. They can get the para-archaeologist qualification on their red card, which is in the supplemental, and currently the only agency that supports that is the Forest Service to have that on their red card. And then the paraprofessional short name for that is actually ARPA. So for those of us that are archaeologists, that's kind of a funny, I think it's funny at least. Yeah, we have a question. Wayna?
Hey Jessica, how you doing?
Good, how are
This
you?
is good. For folks who don't know, I'm the Region 8 Heritage Program Manager. A lot of the paraprofessionals come out of Region 8, and I just want to let everybody know that we are working real hard to ensure that everybody who is currently showing qualified does actually have their paperwork in order. So it's worth checking with whoever is supposed to have certified them, just to make sure, because we got quite a few folks that have dropped off recently as we took a hard look at that paperwork. So I know a couple for us went from like 100 folks. A lot of them were retired, gone, didn't want to be involved, didn't have time to be involved. We've gone down to maybe a dozen. So big changes in those numbers.
Thank you for that clarification. And then the other change, so the required experience for ARC is 12 months of working as a professional archaeologist or archaeological technician. So that would be the 0193 series or the 0102 series. And examples would be archaeological fieldwork, worked as an archaeologist for the private sector, state, or federal agency. And those 12 months do not have to be continuous. Or you can have 2 years of academic study in archaeology, anthropology, and or cultural resource management at an accredited junior college or university, and that has to be 18 semester hours. So those are kind of what we're looking at for the ARC qualification. Otherwise, if people don't have that and they want to have archaeology on their red card, you would have to look at the paraprofessional one, so ARPA, for your red card. And then for those of you that are ADs, the ARC AD pay is currently set as the AD pay scale K, and that's not set to change at all. And then the other new addition with getting all of these positions qualified out of the supplemental and into the 310-1 series is they will all have task books associated with them as well. And right now the draft task books will be in the Google Drive Lynn shared. So if anyone wants to take a look at those, you can. So are there kind of any other questions on the ARC qualification? Otherwise, we're going to move. Kathleen.
Hi, I was curious if you could direct us to where this M281 might be. You say it's unofficial right now, but turning official.
It's unofficial right now, and it's just the fire archaeology course that you kind of see flyers happen every now, and usually there's about one class every year that happens. But we're hoping once we go through the IPTM process that unofficial course will change into M281. And that'll be the same for N9042 is going to change to M280. And then for the lead read course, that's unofficially being taught right now too, as just lead resource advisor. And that'll be an M381 course. And this is all part of the process that we're working on currently with NWCG. So currently it's not official yet, but it'll be coming official. Does that help answer your question?
I guess, is it on the website? Or
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. That answers that question. Thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome. And then Melissa, I see you have your hand up too.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of getting confused. These aren't accepted yet, right?
Right. They're not
Okay,
accepted
'cause
yet, but they're coming. And hopefully it'll be in June
Okay,
of this year.
perfect. Okay,
So this is
thank
just
you
to
for the
kind of get you
clarification. I
yep.
thought they were still being reviewed and there was some glitches, but you guys have been working hard on it. Okay, thank you.
Yep. So hopefully in the June errata, these will all become finalized, and that's why we're giving you all a heads up right now, so you kind of know what's coming instead of being blindsided by it.
And Jess, I mean, they have been accepted. They just haven't been published. There's no intent to do any more edits between this version and the published version.
Correct.
So they have been accepted by the positions committee and NWCG. They just haven't made them fully official by publishing them.
Yep. So that's why we're hoping for the June errata, and then they'll be official. But there are no more changes slated, with the exception to the transition document to put down what year they are finalized in. And that will be the only change. So once we know if it's going to be in the June errata of this year or January 2025, then I'll get to officially put my signature on that document and it'll become final. So Cedar, if you want to talk about the rec position, sorry to like put you on the spot.
Sure, I can talk
Between
about
you and
that.
Lynn.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm promoting that we call it REAC and not REC or REAC.
Definitely not REAC.
Definitely not REAC, but yeah, I'm going to go for REAC. So yeah, this is traditionally the position that we've referred to as lead read in the past. You know, and up to this point, and what's still currently at play is that if you are assigned to an incident as a read, you could either be that lead read or you could be in a support position at the ICP, and that could either be a subject matter expert as a read or as a sort of administrative support person. And so there was a recognition that it was really important that we break this out to its own standalone position that has its own unique qualifications and requirements. The term of REAC, why we chose that, there was a lot of discussion about other mnemonics that we might end up choosing. And we were directed to this because there actually is a resource advisor coordinator position with the DOI All Hazard program. And they are using that term, resource advisor coordinator, REAC. So we were told that was the one we were going to choose. So that's why we went with that. In terms of new things, maybe I'll share my screen here. It might help with getting an overview here. This is a really cool crosswalk document that Lynn put together that identifies the different positions. The proposed ones now, we could consider that accepted, as Lynn just mentioned. And then what's currently in the supplement, these are then the requirements that are currently at play for these positions. And when they are published in the PMS 310-1, then, or I'm sorry, the PMS 310-1, not the supplement, they will then be following what you see here as proposed. Now, for Resource Advisor Coordinator, we didn't have any of that already in there, so all of this is brand new. The main differences that you'll notice here, there'll be a requirement for S190, Introduction to Wildland Fire Behavior. ICS 300 and ICS 800 are both requirements. I believe that all of these courses can be done online. One of the more challenging requirements is going to be L381 or L380. These are more advanced level fire leadership courses. These, my understanding is these are entirely in-person courses. So this will be a course that folks will need to seek out, and in some ways may be, the most challenging course to actually complete in order to get the qualification. And then, as we talked about before, we have a new course that's coming online, the M380 Resource Advisor Coordinator course. This course has been taught, I believe, 4 times now in the past at more of a local level, but we are working through the READ subcommittee to develop some curriculum there that would be available for folks to utilize. Physical fitness requirements for the REAC position will be light. The REAC will maintain currency for READ, REEF, and ARC. And then there will obviously be a task book in place. And then there is a requirement that you serve as a REEF, a READ, or as an ARC. One thing that would be really useful to kind of wrap your head around here is some of the requirements. If you've already served in that lead read role in the past, how will you be able to document that past experience as a lead read? And fortunately, this is all very clearly outlined in our transition plan, but I'll just kind of go through the main points there. What's really key here is that your local unit certifying official, so that's probably going to be your FMO or whoever ends up signing your red card or determining that you are qualified in a different position. They are going to be the ones to make the determination of whether or not your past performance in the capacity of lead read meets the new standards for qualification for REAC. And in order to demonstrate this experience, you're going to have to be able to provide at least 2 forms of documentation indicating your experience as a lead read from a distinct time period. Currently, we have that set as January 1st, 2018, and then that will be potentially modified with the fact that we're not coming online with the position as we thought in this January. But ideally, we're going to give people a 5-year sort of look back period here to provide that documentation. So the two forms of documentation that you'll need to provide, that could be any of the following. It could be an incident performance evaluation indicating that you were assigned as a lead read to an incident. It could be some type of incident record that indicates your assignment as a lead read. It could be something like your name indicated in the delegation of authority as a lead read. Could be the delegation of authority to the incident management team that might list you as the lead read. It could also be just a copy of the ICS 203 organizational assignment list that you'd find in the IEP that identifies you as the lead read. Other forms of documentation could be simply having your name associated with incident resource advisor report, with the suppression repair plan, with the incident read guide, again, identifying you as the lead read. Could be a letter of support from an agency administrator to the individual, identifying them as the lead read. And then it could be the documentation that you successfully completed the lead read training. So that 380 course that we mentioned earlier, in combination with documentation of successful completion of a read, reef, or ARC assignment. And what's also important to note here is that there will be a 2-year period that certifying official can actually complete and certify that you are deemed qualified per the new resource advisor coordinator standards. So you'll have a 2-year period to, again, look 5 years back into your history and provide those 2 different forms of documentation. Last little minor point is that we are asking that for these situations where your certifying official is basically vouching for you that you do have this experience, we're also asking that they write a statement in the justification field for the position in IQCS. So there's a field in there that would basically identify that you fulfilled the tasks identified in the REAK task book, and that you've served on a wildfire assignment as a resource advisor coordinator or as a lead read in the last 5 years. And this is basically just to kind of cover our butts, just to make sure that in the past or in future events that no one questions that certification. So, any questions? I know that's a lot of information. I'm glad to see that someone looks like Jess added some of that information into the chat. But again, all of this should be very clear in the transition plan. So question from Stacy Johnson: did the previous lead read trainings provide a certificate of completion? Most definitely. Yep, all of them did. So and if you needed another copy of that certificate of completion, you could reach out to one of the cadre members, Lynn, myself, Courtney Rowe, and we could dig that out for you. All right. Well, if you have any additional questions, just throw them in the chat. Happy to chat about this. Will there be an upcoming read reef course? Yes, there'll probably be numerous ones coming up. The NPS sponsored one that we've been teaching through the Wildland Fire Learning Portal, we will be offering that again. And that will be coming. We'll be providing the course announcement later in the month. That will again be offered through the Wildland Fire Learning Portal. And you can reach out to me. I'll throw my email address here in the chat. If anybody wants to receive a copy of the course announcement, you can just send me an email and I'll send you a link to the form. Or actually, maybe I'll just put the link to the form here in the chat and people can sign up if they're interested. Will there be an upcoming M281 Fire Arc course? That's a Lynn question. Lynn Jess question.
We're working on it.
If anybody wants to sponsor us to teach it, we are happy to come and teach it. We just really, and this is for both the fire arc and the lead read class. I think the cadre is happy to teach it. Our biggest problem is, since we're not primary firefighters, we don't have travel money to go and teach. And it's interagency. We have an interagency cadre for both of them. So there needs to be a way to pay for the travel of somebody from a different agency. If you can work that out and work out the funds, costs probably about $15,000, probably less, to travel the whole cadre. We have a pretty big cadre because we're trying to make enough so we can teach it multiple times a year, multiple places. So if you can come up with a little less than $15,000 for travel costs for a cadre and work out the interagency travel agreements, you can have a class at a conference room near you. So, and if you want it, just reach out to anybody on the cadre, but you can reach out to me, and I can help organize it for either of those, lead read or the fire arc.
Yep. So we're hopeful this year that there'll be an M281 fire arc course, but we're unsure at the moment. But once we know, there'll be a flyer that we can send out. And then what is the frequency required for taking the MPS read class? Is it an annual requirement? Currently that's set by your home units. So if your home unit, since we're in the supplemental right now, requires you to take refreshers, then that's what the requirement is right now. But once it's an M280 course, it'll just be you take it once and you should be good to go, unless your home unit fire FMO wants you to do a refresher. Because I know my district, we do an annual refresher, but it's also just a way for all of us resource advisors to get together and talk about how our seasons went and lessons learned. So it's not a bad thing. And then I guess we'll move on to the reef and read positions. We can kind of talk
Yes,
about them.
Quick question here. Somebody was requesting a copy of the crosswalk Excel document. I don't know if Lynn, if you could post that. I don't have the authority.
Yeah, so it is in with the packages. It's
on the Google Drive.
Yeah, it's actually part of. I found it and now I forgot. I will get it there. I couldn't.
Yeah, it'll be in the Google Drive eventually if it's not already. So yeah, take a look there. Yeah, so the reef and read positions, not much has changed from what they are currently. Since reef is already fireline qualified, all of the basic firefighter training courses are already required. And so there's nothing new there. Basically, the only change people should see that aren't already required or already qualified will be N9042 will change to M280, and there'll be a task book for those who are not already qualified. If you are qualified right now and you have been acting as a reef on the fire, don't worry, you'll still be qualified. So you shouldn't see any change there for that.
And maybe one thing I'll add is looking in the transition plan here. So there is one difference here as a read. So you will now need to take S110 to maintain that requalification. Fortunately, that's something that you can do online, and you will have a year to complete that course.
And it's a 15-minute video.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Very easy.
So super quick. You can watch it when you have 15 minutes between one meeting and another meeting. So yeah, it's not that huge of a lift to do it. You will have to create, I think, a wildland firefighter learning portal account, I think, is the only additional thing that you need to do for that. But otherwise, everything currently that's required for a read is required in the proposed. So, and then again, if you don't want to do the work capacity test at all, but you still want to assist on fires, READ is where you will now fit into this. So we still made sure that there's something for everyone that wants to assist on fires, be it in the office, in the yurts, without going onto the fire line, or if it's actually going onto the fire line. If you are previously qualified as a reef but lapsed, currently I don't think if you are qualified as a reef, there is no lapse because it's all agency determined. So you would have to talk to your FMO about that. And anyone feel free to correct me if I'm mistaken on that.
So in terms of lapsed qualifications, I don't know, have you talked about that, Jess? Did you just mention that? So that's
a little bit, but
okay.
Feel free to elaborate.
Maybe I could speak to it. I've just got the transition plan in my hand, which really should answer all of your questions. But you may be in a situation where you were qualified as a READ or a REEF or an ARC in the past, and you didn't go out on assignment within, 5 years, and you've been then downgraded to a trainee. So for those folks in that situation, you'll basically just have to work with a fully qualified individual for that particular qualification, and have them determine when you have met the current standards that are identified in the position task book. And you may be subject to any changes in physical fitness or position qualification requirements, annual refresher requirements, but very similar to any other position in wildland fire. If you end up lapsing on that, you basically don't lose that qualification, but you go back to trainee status, and then you need to work with a qualified person to sign you off again. Likewise, if you are currently a trainee as a READ, REEF, or ARC, then you will just maintain that trainee status. So it's kind of a weird thing in the moment because everything is through the supplement. By nature, there is no such thing as a trainee currently in PMS 310-1 supplement because it's a technical specialist. But if functionally you are a trainee, then you will just continue in that trainee role, and you'll have to go and complete all those tasks in the task book and be approved by your certification committee or whatever form that is at your local unit.
Yep. So I know my unit, we don't recognize trainees at all. And some of the other agencies I've worked for as well, they didn't recognize trainees. That's kind of a unit specific thing currently. And then I see Jeffrey asked the question, is there a requirement that folks that helped with WOOFDIS on a regular basis, do they fall under READ or technical specialist? Does someone that helps out with WOOFDIS need to be ordered up through IQCS if helping out on a local unit? No, you do not. So if you help out with WOOFDIS, you can still do that without having READ, REEF, ARC, or REC on your red card.
So there's a question here from Julie Recton. Can't a READ go onto the fire line if they are accompanied? You generally use the term escorted, have full PPE, etc., or they'd be relegated to fire camp. So yes, they can be on the fire line. They need to be officially with a
Single
resource boss qualified individual. They need to have a radio and water and a tool and a fire shelter and all that stuff.
And generally, you'll also have to go through a fire shelter training exercise as well. So, which if you attend the refresher for a REEF or ARC or REC, you get all of that training.
So Cody's asking, READ REEF now has a task book. Yes, there is a proposed task book for READ, REEF, REAC, and ARC. And again, these have been approved, but they haven't been published yet. So again, that's what we're waiting for. We're hoping that in June they'll be published, and if not, it'll be next January. And you can actually access those through the READ Cohort Google Drive. And that I know last summer, in anticipation for what we thought was going to be the qualifications coming online in January, I was on numerous incidents where folks were actually printing those out and getting them signed by their lead reads, by ARCs, throughout the fire season, just so they could start to gather that experience and that documentation of experience. So wouldn't hurt to do that.
Could we maybe, you haven't really gone through the full read and reef, but do you want to pull up the task book for one of those? Sort of just go through it.
While you do that, I'll answer Paige's question. But why is Fireline qualified for a reef a lower fitness level than other Fireline positions? It's not. So a FOBS is also a moderate as well, and there are other positions as well that are on the Fireline that are moderate. So arduous only means
arduous
that
is supposed to be for the hot shots for crews. There's very
crew
defined.
dictates the work.
Yeah. The pack test levels are very well defined and very well bounded within NWCG, and we worked through it, and we had years of conversation about this, lots of back and forth, and really it came down to the position, none of the 4 resource advisors positions meet the criteria to be arduous. The position itself can make determinations. The person can make determinations about whether they should be there or not. They're not being necessarily dictated by the fire, whereas crews are being dictated by the other crew members are doing and what the fire's doing. So they don't have as much choice, and so even if the whole subcommittee had wanted it to be arduous, NWCG was not gonna. That it doesn't meet the criteria for it. So moderate is where it is.
Yep.
We had lots and lots of discussions about that.
So even with a moderate pack test, are we expecting issues with getting HPay approved? Nope. We dealt with this for a couple years, and then this is the business committee's memo response to HPay for resource advisors that basically states if you are on the fire line doing work, then you are required to have HPay. You just have to document it appropriately. So that may have been the thing, because most finance peoples now, if you just say HPay justification, uncontrolled fire line, they want something more. So, and I know a couple hotshot crews too were getting pushback from finance if that was the only thing they had on their justification too. So I got to overhear a really heated argument with a hotshot superintendent with finance that was arguing really why they got HPay, even though all they put on their justification was uncontrolled fire line. Finance, even for them, wanted more.
Yeah, and we've been sort of directed to include the division that you're working on. Oftentimes I will suggest to my reefs and ARCs that they indicate that they are assisting and advising firefighters on an uncontrolled fire line, something like that, in Division Alpha, and just give a little bit more supplemental information there. And that seems to be working fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't had any pushback since I elaborated a little bit more instead of just writing HPay uncontrolled fire line.
Can you see the, am I sharing?
Yep, we can see the task book.
We've got it, Lynn.
I'll just say that the task book was one of the biggest things from getting out of the supplement and into 310-1. It is a requirement of all positions to have a task book, so that is why all those have them. And lots of work again went into these. You guys can jump in anytime, but we just, trying to get everybody consistent about what they're learning and what they need to know in order to be the position. So starts out with readiness for the assignment. Do you have all your stuff together? Are you ready to travel? Are you ready to get on the fire line? Understanding the ICS, Then gathering all the information for the situation and the assignment and all that. And the bullet points are just examples of different ways. You don't have to do actually every single one, but if you haven't ever done a task book before, they're just examples. They're ways to get at that. They're ways to cue you on what you're doing it, and also your evaluator to cue you that they're making sure you're getting all the right assignment and information. And then big one, relationships with the relevant people and the people around you on the fire line, around you in camp, and that you have to talk to. The briefings and debriefings, making sure everybody's getting the right information, chain of command's getting the right information. Again, being able to work on a radio, crew members, maps, being safe on the fire line. Probably making you sick by scrolling so quickly, but it's a big task book, but not overwhelming. And then fire line concerns, protective measures, and these are the protective measures for the resources, making sure you're being able to figure out what resources need to be protected and then communicating that to get them protected. Documentation afterwards, documentation of what you did, documentation of the repairs, documentation of the damage, monitoring forms, and all your daily stuff, and releasing. So that was a whirlwind through the reef. Task book.
Maybe I could just share my screen here. I just want to show folks in this folder in the READ cohort, there's actually 3 documents for each position, and these were required by the READ subcommittee to submit this request for change packet. So what we just looked at here was the task book, but there are 2 other documents here that are pretty useful and interesting to take a look at, and you'll find those for each one of the positions. For each position, you're going to see the qualification requirements, and this is really what Lynn boiled down into that crosswalk Excel document, but this is going to really outline what those specific requirements are, what the position is going to maintain currency for, fitness level, and required training. So that's a good one to look at. The other one that would be useful to look at is we developed what is called an incident for each of the positions that really defines what exactly does this job do? What does this position do? What is the requirement? And this was actually our first step before creating the task books. So the idea here is that this is going to really give you a thorough overview in a very standardized way as to what these positions are doing. So I just want to make sure folks got a chance to look at those if they're interested.
See, Julie has a question. For our elderly / less abled employees, our Native American partners who want to assist on advising, but for whom jumping through all the coursework is a barrier, how will we be able to accommodate them? One webinar I took described the local tribe doing cultural burning in national parks with only minimal notice to park overhead. Will this kind of access be affected? I don't think so. For Native American partners as well, there's the supplemental qualification of culls that they could look into acquiring as well, and they can be ordered as that. Otherwise, if you hire them on as an AD, then there's certain things as well. And I just posted a link to AD information for both the Forest Service and DOI plans that we currently have in place for both of them. I think the Forest Service one is good until October 2025, maybe. And then the DOI one is good until whenever they put out the 2024 one. And then for ADs as well, they are allotted, I think, 80 hours of training that whatever unit is sponsoring them will pay for. So that's
I'll
something
just,
too you can look into
yeah,
for partners.
I'll just
Go
add
ahead, Lynn.
for the read position, the three or the four classes besides the resource advisor class itself, those four classes are only like 2 hours. I believe they're really short. There's not a lot to them, and they're online. Now, the resource advisor class itself is longer, but the full status of how long that will be has not been determined. And then but that would only be for like working on a wildland fire. For cultural burns on a federal unit, that is totally different and has nothing to do with these positions. So just to emphasize that cultural burning and what that local unit is asking the tribe to have as far as qualifications has nothing to do with these positions. This is only during wildland fire or emergency situations where somebody's got a resource order. They need to do these.
And then I also want to hit on the IPTM process, which again, that's the incident performance and training modernization process. And this is kind of the last step that we're going to be going through. And I'll post a link to the NWCG's page for IPTM. And then we're also requesting SMEs to help us with the IPTM process as well. And there's a link to that. For a form there to fill out. One of the things that you have to note, though, if you want to help out as a SME with these positions, your home unit will have to pay for your travel to Boise, Idaho, and it will be a 4-day in-person meeting with the contractor with NWCG. Your travel must be paid for by your home unit unless you work for the National Association for State Foresters. They are the only agency that has an agreement with NWCG to kind of help provide some sort of funding. Otherwise, it'll be on your home unit to provide funding. And the dates for the workshop will be May 6th through May 9th, and your travel days will be Sunday, May 5th, and Friday, May 10th. So we're looking for SMEs in all of the positions, ARC, REC or REAC, and READ and REEF. And the READ and REEF positions will be worked on together by the same SMEs. The other two positions will all be worked on separately by different SMEs. And we're looking for a variety of geographic regions, variety of agencies, variety of specialties. So please, if you're interested in this, fill out the form. And we'll have the final selections made by February 26th. So next month. So talk to your supervisors now.
It's really
So,
a great opportunity if you want to be, really at the tip of the spear in developing this policy and developing these positions and, really having your voice heard. It's a great opportunity to be involved at this level.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because part of being a SME for this process is you're going to be going through and modernizing everything. That's the task books that Cedar just showed you, the performance development plans, qualifications. We're just modernizing them. And as I stated at the beginning of this, all of the NWCG positions are going through this process. They had about 5 to 10 of them go through it this past year, and they'll have another roughly 10 to 12 positions going through it this year. And then the following years, they're going to ramp it up. So they essentially within, I think, 5 to 6 years, they want all positions that are in that 310-1 to go through this. So we're kind of lucky in the fact that once our positions are finalized, we've already gone through this IPTM process, so there should be no more changes after this.
And it's also fortunate that we've just very recently developed all of these products, so they are fairly modern already,
Mhm.
hopefully.
Yep. So,
Last 5 minutes for any questions, comments? Let's say I put Northern New Mexico is having a online refresher, probably like more like the region. The link is in the chat, so take a look at that if you're looking for a refresher. They asked me to put it out.
So
I'd say Mike, Frank, send me an email and what year, and I will look for your certificate.
So there's a
Yep.
question here from Ashley Knight, who signs off on the task books. So again, that you'll get a recommendation from a qualified person in that position. You then submit that recommended task book to typically your fire management officer, or again, whoever your certifying officer is for positions. And then quite oftentimes in the off season, there is a review committee which will then go through your task book, look at performance evaluations, and then make a final determination. But it does probably vary from agency to agency, unit to unit, but that's the process I've typically seen.
You also have to have the task book. When these become official task books, the local unit has to open your task book, and they sign the front page saying it here. It's certified that we know you are working on this as a trainee position, and then you go through all the process that Cedar just outlined.
Yep, and that'll typically be your AFMO or your FMO, depending on how your unit wants task books opened. Does anyone else have any other questions within the last 3 minutes?
Wow, silence.
We answered them all. Hopefully. And again, the Resource Advisors Subcommittee is looking for National Association of State Forester people that are interested in joining the subcommittee. So if you are interested in that, please shoot me an email. My email is jriesenberg@blm.gov. I'll also put that in the chat as well. And then I know the BIA is also looking for associate members as well. And then I just saw that there is a hand up.
Julie, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, you said that these are only for wildland fire for emergency situations, but I was under the impression that these applied to prescribed fire as well, which is why I've been asking the type of questions I've been asking. I was told I couldn't come on a prescribed
Yeah.
fire in a goshawk territory, that I couldn't be present even unless I had a moderate walk test, and my doctor is holding me at a light right now. So, yeah.
Yes, you good correction of me. But this is, yeah, they're NWCG positions, but they for tribal. They don't go for tribal or any kind of fire that's not under the NWCG system. So prescribed fires that are under the NWCG system, yes, these positions are for them. Why you're being held to such a high standard of having to have a moderate to go into a prescribed burn. That's your local unit. That's not necessarily the NWCG, but yes, I stand corrected on my previous comment.
Yeah, that was kind of what I had figured, but they claimed that this was the rules. So anyways.
Okay. All right. For no more questions. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Cedar. Go ahead and bug the NWCG subcommittee. Got more questions for any of us. And everybody have a great January.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.